Hi everyone, and welcome back to Project No Buy. In today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of updated closet statistics for myself, as well as reacting at large, or in general, to the INDYX style report. Or I guess it's the INDYX 2025 State of Our Wardrobes. So I know a little while ago I said I was going to react to The Conscious Closet, to read and react rather, as I usually do on this channel when I read some books that are transformative, informative, give me some new things to think about that's related to Project No Buy in some way. And I did start rereading The Conscious Closet, and honestly for where I'm at right now, it just felt like that kind of in-depth reflection on my own personal wardrobe felt a little bit unnecessary and not necessarily helpful. Unnecessary, not necessarily helpful. We're off to a great start speaking in this video. Anyway, I didn't really feel like doing it at this time, during the month of June or July. And I actually ended up donating that book or taking it to Half Price Books along with a big bin of other books that I've completed this year so far. And I did not actually buy a book with the cash back or the credit. We chose to get cash back and got about $19.10 or something like that for all the books that we brought over there. And I didn't count how many books it was, but as with any of these kind of consignment services, it's really much more about preventing these things from going to waste and getting them into the hands of somebody who can either resell them or responsibly recycle them. Same with the thread-up bag. It's not about getting any money back. It's about the responsible recycling and, you know, kind of donating the items or, again, getting a very small profit back in exchange for that service. So took the Half Price Books, got $19, donated The Conscious Closet as part of that package, and will therefore not be reacting to it on this channel. Sorry about that if that was something that you actually remembered and wanted to see, but basically Elizabeth L. Klein in that book talks about how to build a conscious closet, hence the title. And that involves secondhand shopping, as well as knowing the kind of person you are and how you want to interact with your clothes, what kind of wardrobe you want to have, whether you want to have a lot of options or minimal options or somewhere in between, and how often you want to bring in new things, and then how you're going to go about doing that. Also, how you're going to go about getting rid of your clothes at the other side when you're no longer using them and no longer interested in them. And so, again, I've kind of engaged in a fair bit of that exploration on this channel already, and I didn't really feel like it was appropriate or necessary at this time for me. However, I will share some of my updated closet statistics and go through the INDYX State of Our Wardrobes report, as well as my feelings and reflections on it, because it is kind of revelatory in a lot of ways. So I guess let's open up the report first, and I will probably put some screenshots of this up on screen. So INDYX is a wardrobe app that came onto the scene fairly recently, I think, and it's been very heavily promoted on social media. So you've probably seen some other videos on the creators speaking about the INDYX app if you're into the style content at all. And it's trying to help us be more sustainable with our wardrobes by cataloging them. So, you know, taking the picture of all our clothes, having them on our phones. So whenever we feel the urge to shop for something new, we can go look at our own closets, put outfits together that way. I think they have a new feature, or relatively new. Again, I don't actually personally use the app, so this is not a promotion. I did receive a comment about the INDYX report and what I thought about it. So this is kind of a response to that comment, kind of indirectly, and also a lot after the fact. As is typical on this channel, I don't respond to anything instantaneously. But anyway, so it's a closet catalog app that I don't actually personally use, hashtag unsponsored, of course. But this is the report they released on the 2025 State of Our Wardrobes. Our closets quantified. For decades, fashion has been driven by what brands choose to make and market. At INDYX, our vision for the future is the opposite, a world where fashion is centered around the individual and what we all already own. So this is built on anonymous data from tens of thousands of digital closets and over 10 million real clothing items. So offering that look behind the closet door, the real story of what we're wearing, straight from the source, because we can't build a more thoughtful fashion future without understanding what's happening in our wardrobes today. So there's a headline of the top stories in this report. Again, I'll have it up here. The closet that made us gasp, jeans and 68 nice tops, super shoppers meet shelf life, forever pieces. I could see a trend cycle from your closet. We own a lot but wear it very little. Champagne taste, fast fashion habits, and 30 wears we wish. So let's go through all this together. How big is big, really? We have, on average, 166 total items in our wardrobes, but the high end can go really high. The largest wardrobe included in our data set is over 4,000 items. So the median is 166, according to their little bar chart here. I have to speculate a little bit that perhaps not everybody has put everything in their wardrobes. I'm not saying that this figure is wrong necessarily. 166 is probably a reasonable to large rather, for somebody to have in their wardrobe. And again, we don't know if all these people are including things like pajamas, swimwear, activewear, if they're putting in accessories, even things like shoes and purses. You know, are these things in the 166 for clothing, or are these things not a part of their wardrobe app? And again, I think INDYX encourages having accessories too. So this could include things like earrings and sunglasses very, very easily, especially if somebody wants to make their outfit using those pieces. So we don't actually know how much of this is clothes, although I guess the next slide might answer that question, because it's more like jeans and 68 nice tops. So there we go. I guess the average number of items in the median wardrobe is 68 tops, 31 bottoms, 16 pairs of shoes, 13 dresses, 12 pieces of outerwear, 11 accessories, 9 pieces of jewelry, 7 bags, and swim uncategorized number. So more than 2 times as many tops as bottoms. I am a little curious as to how I fall on this statistical scale. So I will go ahead and look at my closet to kind of follow along statistically, I guess. And again, I don't use INDYX right now. I'm still with the Smart Closet because I got it back when it was free and I put all of my wardrobe in there, so it was just easier for me to keep using that. So back to the median number compared to the 166. Right now I have 184, but I did take out the pajamas and activewear. So I don't have pajamas and activewear in there, or I would technically have more clothes. I don't have accessories like jewelry in my wardrobe either. So I don't know, again, if everybody's putting every single piece of jewelry that they have into INDYX. Again, 9 pieces of jewelry seems maybe a little bit low for somebody putting in their whole jewelry collection, but maybe people just don't have as much jewelry as it looks like they have on social media. So who knows? I definitely have a lot more bags. Again, let's pull up the category here. Whoops, I guess I've kind of messed with my stats here because it's, sorry, but instead of having it grouped by tops, bottoms, shoes, etc., I have all of my clothing, so not shoes and bags. I have those grouped by capsule experiment categories, so spring and summer, fall and winter. So I'm gonna go ahead and count all of my tops so that I can get you this data. And judging from the fact that outerwear is a separate category, but things like sweaters are not, I'm guessing those count as tops. So I'll be right with you when I get the amount of tops that I have. Okay, so we're at 46 tops total, and let's get the bottoms to compare that. Okay, so 24 bottoms to, what did I say, 46 tops? I guess that is roughly 2 times as many tops as bottoms. And I kind of think that that works, or I mean, I could have even fewer bottoms compared to tops for probably how I practically wear my clothes, because you can wear bottoms multiple times in a row, or at least I feel more comfortable wearing bottoms kind of on repeat and changing the top. So I don't know if that's necessarily a problem, but I think the point here is that the new going out top waiting in your cart, your closet would like a word with you is the tagline here. Probably don't need to buy more tops. But again, you know, if we count sweaters and sweatshirts and t-shirts and tank tops as, you know, all lumped together under tops, it's kind of difficult to quantify because, again, in each of my capsules here, it's about half that amount. So the spring-summer number of tops might be in the 20-somethings with, again, you know, if you cut the tops and bottoms in half, say I have 12 bottoms for spring-summer, 12 for fall-winter, and whatever it was, 22 tops for each season, 23. Then, you know, it kind of starts to make a little bit more sense for somebody who wants to have a lot of options, right? I'm not going to say I have a small minimal closet by any means. I'm not even sure that I will get there, but I do kind of want to still continue to pare down on a slow and conscious and needs-based, comforts-based style discovery. So let's get back to the report. Still shopping and shopping and shopping. The next page, over the past year, we added a median of 59 items to our wardrobes, nearly 5 new pieces each month. The range is wide. 10% buy just a couple of items a month, while 18% are super shoppers, adding more than 10 items a month. And there's a chart with implied closet turnover time here. So average number of items purchased per month, the years that these things are in the closet before they get turned over, I guess. And honestly, I am aiming to get to the low end of the spectrum. I know this year I had an ambitious goal, ambitious for me, of a good, better, best, 10, 15, and 20 pieces brought into my wardrobe or something like that. Or maybe it was even 5, 10, and 15. It was back in January when I was full of hope and optimism about how my no-buy challenge would go. And before I totally fell off the wagon for my birthday in January and purchased, 7 clothing pieces? So shattering my best goal of 5. And I think by now I might have even gone over my good option of 15 if we count everything that I've purchased so far, including the skirt and the jeans and the top in the past failures in June, and the dress in May, and whatever else it was. It's just, this wasn't supposed to be a no-buy recap video, so I'm not gonna go deep into that here. But my goal is to go below the average. I guess the average here is 59 items, so hopefully that's not going to be a danger of approaching that, at least for the rest of this year. No, by July and onwards, I really do hope that that's 0, and I'm going to be working harder than ever to keep to my promise this time, keep to my goals this time, my promise to myself, and really just proving that I'm capable of going without for the period of 1 year. We wish for forever pieces, and the data says 2-year pieces. So again, on that longevity point, over a third of our wardrobe was bought in the last year, and nearly 3/4 of it in the last 3 years. So we're constantly starting over and not really building personal style is what that alludes to. I also do have to wonder though, however, because I know I did do a spring capsule experiment with the app INDYX in my first no-buy year. I'll link it up here if I can find it. And when I was putting in my wardrobe, I didn't go into the years of each specific item. And there were items that were over 5 years old, but I, for ease of convenience, tended to put 1 year for everything that was purchased prior to the no-buy year. 1 or 2 years, if I remembered, something was really old. And so there might be kind of statistics skewing the data. Again, mine were a part of that if they took my information that I had put in there for this report. And so I have a little bit of skepticism for some of these, but again, what can they do but to report on what people actually put in? So it's not their fault for curating this report as such, but it's people like me's fault for putting in that I got this piece 2 years ago instead of 10 years ago in some cases. The next slide is, what are we shopping for this season? It's the question fashion TikTok won't stop asking. And girls, what are we shopping for this season? What are we wearing? Which shoes are the cool shoes? Which purse is the it purse? Well, I can tell you, I went to an ice cream store in person last week, and probably 9 out of 10 women that walked in there had a Coach bag, which is fascinating to me whenever I go to a more popular place in my neighborhood, because when I go to work, it's the same people all the time, and most people are not plugged into any kind of trend cycle. There's a wide variety of ages at my work, and more people than not, I guess, are older than I am. And the people who are more around my age are much more kind of trendy, I guess, and the people older just have what they have, and they don't tend to do as many updates of things. And so there's somebody at my work who has the same shoes, the same sneakers, and has had them for the entire time that I've been here, which admittedly is only 3 or 4 years. But I've noticed that pair of sneakers, and other people have pairs of shoes that I probably haven't noticed for the same 4 years. I actually have a lot of the same pairs of shoes too. But my point is that I hypothesize that this particular person has had those shoes for probably 10 years or 20 years by now, and I just don't know because I haven't been here that long, and they're not constantly updating their style as following the trends. But when I go to a more popular place where more of a variety of people are coming in, and more younger people, more people who are on social media, I do see the trends peeking their heads out, or rather glaring at me. Very popular trends, right? The same shoes, the same bags, the same brands splashed everywhere, the same styles of shirts, the same styles of denim shorts, the same hair and makeup even. And so it's become kind of fascinating as I've gone out into the public more in the summer season. We might have to do more dedicated talks on that in the future, but back to the report. What are we shopping for? So the brands here, this is the brand graph. New Balance, 59% trending, and anti-trending. Birkenstock is going down, which is definitely not reflected in what I see around me. A lot of people are buying, or not buying, but a lot of people are wearing Birkenstocks. They do last a long time. I've had mine for years now. I think I had them when I lived in Texas, and I still have them now. So it's been at least 5 years, more than 5 years. Anyway, they last a long time, so maybe people just aren't buying more Birkenstocks. And I think they make this point in their report later as well. So there is some nuance covered here. Popular brands: New Balance, Madewell, or trending, I should say. Trending brands: New Balance, Madewell, Mango, Coach, Cezanne, Converse, Arquette, Baggu, Shein, and J. Crew. And the brands going down: Gap, Brandy Melville, Anthropologie, LL Bean, Zara, Aritzia, Reformation, Urban Outfitters, Birkenstock, and other stories. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, at least to me, because these brands, more of them than not, are brands that I have personally tried. And again, the trends have dictated my participation in these brands for the past decade or so. And so, you know, if I was going to do a bingo card or a checklist here, do I have New Balance? Yes. Madewell. I don't actually think I have anything from Madewell, but it's a brand that I've seen a lot. It's just never particularly been my style. So I'm aware of Madewell and have kind of chosen not to partake. Mango, no, I don't think I've ever browsed or been in a Mango. Do they have physical stores? Coach, I have at one time had a Coach belt bag that I later resold. Cezanne, yes, I have several Cezanne pieces in my closet. Converse, I have a pair. Arquette, no, it's not a brand I've ever shopped, actually, but I have heard of them. And again, I have always kind of conceived of them as a little too elevated, but also kind of boring. And maybe I'm totally wrong about that. But again, as somebody who's never seriously looked into them, are they expensive as well? I'm not actually sure, but that might have been part of my reason to not. Baggu, I do have some Baggu bags. Shein, I don't participate in and haven't, aside from some thrifted shirts that I don't think I have any longer just because they were not comfortable. I'm thinking of a concert black shirt in particular that I thrifted and I think I've put away for my kids in the future in case they have a need for a black shirt, but it's not something that's really comfortable to wear if we're going to be sweating on stage, etc. Sorry for that image. And J. Crew, I again remember one time going into a J. Crew and purchasing a striped sleeveless tank top, and I no longer have that shirt. I was in Colorado at the time. This was over a decade ago at this point. And so I remember having that from J. Crew, but again, it's not one of the main places that I used to shop. So I guess actually, as far as the trending brands, there was only 4 of these that are still in my closet now, and that was New Balance, Cezanne, Converse, and Baggu. As far as the going down in trends brands, again, Gap, Brandy Melville, Anthropologie, LL Bean, those are all stores that I have never tried, and other stories. So never gotten into those, just never seemed to be my style. Kind of bland and basic. Dare I risk offending some people out there? Zara, Aritzia, Reformation, Urban Outfitters, and Birkenstock are all brands that I have tried and don't have any pieces from anymore except for Birkenstock and Reformation, and then one Aritzia shirt. I think that's all I still currently own. But what it does tell me, or what feeling I got reading these, is that I was definitely plugged into the fashion trend cycle, definitely aware of what was supposedly cool, right? The TikTok girls asking, what shoes are we buying this season? That was information that I used to want to know and used to pay attention to. And, you know, the New Balance thing kind of is a testimony to the reason I have New Balances is because I saw them on TikTok. And ironically, the pair of shoes that the person at work has, that she's probably had them for decades, are New Balances. So the trends come and they go and they come back. So she and I both have a pair of New Balance sneakers in different styles. Hers are, I have never seen them because again, I think they're significantly older, like actually worn. And mine are kind of the new popular it shoe, although I did get them prior to my first no-buy attempt, so prior to 2024. But I hope that I can have them for as long as this other work colleague has had hers and get as much joy out of wearing them. Okay, too much closet, too little time. With closet turnover so high, we struggle to actually wear the things we buy. And they've been worn just 10 times on average, or only 7 for pieces of clothing. So bags, shoes, and jewelry get the most wears, and other pieces of clothing are pushed to the side, dresses and swimwear. And again, it's understandable with swimwear. Dresses is kind of understandable as well since they're not a mix and match piece, but only 3 wears is pretty low and probably less than we anticipate when we buy an item, especially with dresses. Again, at least me personally, when I buy a dress, it's because I really like it. It has to be a complete outfit for me. Aside from maybe the purple Old Navy dress that I still have that I purchased a long time ago, as a student and just never got rid of because it's a comfy, airy kind of sundress, easy to throw on, very casual piece. And so, that's not necessarily a piece that I would say I absolutely love. But the other dresses in my wardrobe that don't serve that purpose are pieces that were kind of like, wow, it's a show-stopping outfit piece, even though it's not to everybody's tastes. But, I'm thinking of my Ghani zebra print dress and my sleeper Atlanta dress, the navy blue one. I did actually wear that for a concert in June. So I performed in it for a chamber music show. And so, it's kind of less casual and not appropriate for everyday wear where I live, or at least not for me in my lifestyle. And so that kind of explains why that dress doesn't get as many wears. But as far as the daily dresses, 3 wears is either a sign that we maybe have too many dresses or that we prefer wearing separates at large. And by we, I mean the people who have made up the data for this report. And by extension, myself speaking from my personal experience here. I'm also not 100% sure how long this data was taken from, how long a time period. Maybe I can find that information. But again, depending on how long it is, 17 wears per a bag and 16 wears for a pair of shoes does seem a little bit low. I know in my smart closet, I haven't tracked my wears of my wardrobe for a very long time, but I'm pretty sure my most worn bag has more than 17 wears, and I didn't track, like I just said, I haven't tracked a lot of outfits, but I do have favorite bags, despite having so many bags. My most worn bag has been worn 71 times. And again, there's not been a year that I've tracked my wardrobe for every day. It's just been really sporadic, but I have some pants that have been worn for 40 days, my coat for 33, 29, 26. Those are kind of my most worn items from my sporadic wardrobe tracking. We know I tracked at least 71 days because I have a bag worn 71 times. But again, without the complete data of how many days I've tracked, it's kind of hard to compare as well. So back to the report. 25% of our wardrobe sat completely untouched this year. And I have not made that something that I can easily see in my own wardrobe. I can anecdotally tell you when I go through all my clothes, whether I've reached for it in the past year or not, but it might be something interesting to do. Try the backwards hanger trick or whatever, and make it so that I know which pieces I haven't reached for at all. It seems like a trick that's fairly easy to do, but something that I've never actually done, and there's no good reason that I haven't done it. So maybe after this video, I'll go and actually turn my hangers around. The things in the drawers, I'm not as particular about because they're mostly like my undershirts, the tank tops I wear under things, or t-shirts, which I'm probably not going to get rid of any of since they all fit, or activewear or underwear. And again, I'm not so fussed about whether I wear everything in there as long as it all fits without the need for extreme organizers or anything like that. We're gonna visit that later in July. I have a video planned on when you need things to organize your things. But anyway, back to the report, or we're gonna be here all day. The faster the fashion, the less it's worn. The fastest fashion has the fewest wears, in other words. So Shein, Cider, Pretty Little Thing, Fashion Nova, etc. I think we realize that these are mistake purchases after we wear them once, and that's kind of how it goes. And that's why they have so few wears, and or maybe they get destroyed in the wash. And so that's just kind of another reason to avoid fast fashion. The OG fast fashion, Zara, Forever 21, Topshop, H&M, ASOS, and Mango have more wears, 6 wears here. I still have an H&M shirt and still wear that thing, and I have probably worn it more than 30 times, more than 50 times, because I've had it since college. And it's stood up. It's 100% cotton, and I am probably never going to get rid of it. Or, never say never, but I don't have any plans to get rid of it just because it's a good basic for work during the summertime. It's basically a sleeveless blue kind of button-up shirt. Classic. There's the mall brands. So the J. Crew, Aritzia, Madewell, Old Navy, Abercrombie, which it's interesting that Old Navy isn't OG fast fashion, because that's kind of how I would equate it in my mind, but I don't know. What do I know? I do still have pieces from Old Navy and Abercrombie, and one piece from Aritzia. The contemporary brands, this is interesting because again, these are the brands that I see talked about a lot by the fashion girlies, the cool girls or whatever. And I do have several pieces from a lot of these brands, namely Cezanne, Tibi. I have a thrifted Ralph Lauren sweater. I've tried some pieces from COS and they just don't work out out for me. Everlane, likewise, I've tried some pieces. They don't work out for me. Vince, I have never tried. It's a little bit up there in the price point. Luxury. I have never really tried anything luxury aside from makeup and the Dior purse that my mom brought from New Zealand that one of her friend's daughters gave to her for me, which is a convoluted way to say it, I guess. But I do have a very kind of older style Dior purse, and I've tried the YSL makeup and the Chanel lipstick. Other than that, I've never tried anything luxury. I've never gone out of my way to acquire anything for myself in that bracket, and I just don't think I ever will. But interestingly, it's the contemporary pieces at that kind of higher price point, but not the luxury price point, that get the most wears in the closets of INDYX users. And again, while it is true for me too, to me, it speaks more to the kind of people that use INDYX or that have been exposed to INDYX, you know, like the kind of target market, I guess. The person who uses INDYX is probably somebody who's heard of Tibi and has a couple of pieces and wears them a lot, in other words. And I fit squarely into that box. And so that's kind of what this report is telling me, is that this is kind of the target audience as well as the target user for this report. Because otherwise, you know, somebody else reading this who's never heard of any of these brands would be totally disagreeing, right? Like, I'm somebody who can sit here and say, oh yeah, this applies to me. I'm the core of this data, basically. Whereas somebody who gets all of their pieces from Shein and wears them a lot, which I don't know if that kind of person exists. I don't know if any Shein clothes last enough to make that exist. And then on the other end of the spectrum, someone who gets all their clothes at Gucci and wears them a lot is also looking at this list and saying, no, that's not me either. So again, it's kind of revelatory. It's kind of a revelation of the demographic of INDYX, in addition to the information kind of face value presented in this report. Statement pieces make a splash, staples put in the work. So they have a table here of how much these pieces are worn and how all of them fall short of the 30 wears. These are brands like Love Shack Fancy, For Love and Lemons, Staud, Zimmermann, Realization, Tory Burch, Doan. Again, very romantic brands. Damson Matter. Shout out here to the vest that I regret buying but will continue to wear now that I own it. Dish, Ghani, again, something that I own and kind of rarely wear on this channel. It's my zebra dress with the long sleeves. Maybe I need to make a point to bring that out again. The Row, The Frankie Shop, Anina Bing, Jenny Kane, Cezanne, Tibi, Totem, Arquette, and A. Goldie. And when I read this list, I know the price points of some of these things, right? This vest was over $100. I know brands like Jenny Kane and Anina Bing and the Frankie Shop and The Row are super expensive, in my opinion. And again, I'm somebody who's bought expensive things, and I still think these are super expensive brands. Again, Tibi is on here. I know they have super expensive items, some of which I would never ever buy because I just don't spend that much money on anything except the things I wear every day. And even some of those things, right? Like a t-shirt for hundreds of dollars is something I wouldn't do. A pair of jeans for hundreds of dollars is something I would do, because for me, it's just that difficult to find a pair of pants that fits in the way that I truly love and truly feel comfortable in. And so I have those two pairs of pants at the egregiously expensive price point of Tibi. And so I see this and I see that we have all these expensive pieces and aren't wearing them 30 times. And again, collective we, the users of INDYX. And it is kind of interesting. From leggings to layering, these are the brands working over time. Barbour, again, this is probably a coat, and that's probably why it has 30 wears. Once again, not a brand that I have. It's always been one of those too expensive for me kind of brands. Although, as I know, as I will talk about later, anything can be justified if you want it. When you start wanting something, things start to get justified. And so if I started wanting a Barbour jacket or coat, then I could probably talk myself into it. But there are reasons that I will not want one, and I'm going to keep it that way. Girlfriend Collective, Patagonia, Universal Standard, the North Face. I do have a North Face coat. And again, you know, that kind of makes sense with the higher wears here. So far are outdoor clothing and workout wear. Lucy and Yak, Philippac, Cotton, Acne Studios, another expensive brand. Everlane, Lululemon, Citizens of Humanity, A. Goldie, LL Bean. What is this? Big Bud Press? Levi's, Samso and Samso, Columbia, Assembly Label, and Frank & Oak. And again, most of these pieces sound like they would either be basics, activewear, or outerwear. And that kind of explains why they're getting so many more wears, whereas the kind of fashion pieces, the brands on the previous slide, are not getting as much use. And that's the end of the report there, page 13. So it'll be interesting to see if they release another one and if the data changes at all, if it seems like the demographic using INDYX has changed at all. I am not contributing any more data to INDYX, so I'm not really going to be a part, at least, the direct data, even if the trajectory may or may not still fit what my closet looks like. And I do have things like the brands. I got the number of tops and bottoms. That was kind of ignoring things like dresses, but I can still tell you that I have 26 bags and 26 pairs of shoes. We went down a little bit from 30 pairs of shoes. And I do still have things like formal options that are kept separate. So 11 formal options. These are a mix of skirts and tops and dresses. For performing, there's one coat in there that I consider a formal option that was gifted to me from my mom. And I bring those out on a rotating basis throughout the year as I have non-orchestral performance. I have 8 items that I'm still kind of thinking about whether I keep or donate or resell or, rehome in another way. That's my purgatory section here. And I also have homeware extras. I forgot about that category. That's kind of some home only / undershirts / some kind of borderline purgatory that I'm still thinking about. And I will recategorize these eventually, but for the majority, they're just clothes that I exclusively wear at home. I would not wear them to work. I could wear them to the grocery store, but again, it's kind of a different category. I wouldn't consider them my fashionable clothes most of the time. All right, so this is the fall capsule experiment. So it's got the sweaters, the jeans, the fall kind of dresses. I consider my Gani Zebra one a fall dress, and my coats and jackets, and my spring summer capsule, which is what I am kind of working with now. Kind of an awkward number here. I've got 48 of those, 36 of the fall winter, so I can't get them all in frame. But here's kind of an overview of my current closet. Going to the other categories here, I have the favorite brands, and my top brand was actually not in the INDYX report, and that is the brand Jerv Avenue. I know they've had a massive scandal recently, and it's come out that the owner of that brand treats her employees really poorly, and I haven't added anything to my wardrobe since that came out, at least not to my knowledge. I did have to get a different size in my dress pants, and I think I did that early this year. For me, that was a replacement item because it was the same pair of pants in a larger size. And so because I know those pants work for me and get a ton of wears in terms of my concert black wardrobe, I was not going to let the scandal or my desire to not support the company anymore on that basis prevent me from having the pair of pants that I know fit. So most of my closet is still this brand. I'm not going to do anything about the fact that that's the case because once again, I already have the clothes and I'm not repping the brand, at least in my opinion, by wearing the clothes. They don't have hugely visible logos. Nobody will know what brand they are unless they actually know the brand already. And again, most people who notice what brand of clothes I wear are probably people that are going to know me well enough to know that I don't support people treating their employees poorly. Like, that's just not a logical conclusion to draw when you wear a certain brand of clothing. You don't know when that person bought it. There are times when it's not okay to support something or when it's not okay to show visible alliances with particular parties, particular individuals. But again, I'm not trying to get into that discussion today. My point is I am going to keep my closet as it is. My top brand is this brand, Jerv Avenue, and I have 50, yes, 50 pieces from this brand. And again, this is kind of a symbol of the few years of my kind of over shopping. I was obsessed with this brand. And part of it is that they had clothes that actually fit. They have pants that are long enough for me, and the shirts had sleeves long enough. As a tall person, I guess the fact that it's a Scandinavian brand might have something to do with that. And the kind of undershirts are also long enough, and the material is of the sort that I actually like, right? Most of my closet is this brand, but I actually do like and wear all of the stuff regularly. So basically, it kind of makes up my undershirts. I have a couple of pairs of jeans. They're not my favorite, given that they're actually form-fitting in the waist, and that's not my preference anymore. But again, I'm going to keep them because they're long enough, and it's rare for me to find jeans that are the perfect length. I have a couple of performance options. I have summer shorts. My massive collection of tube tops are all from this brand as well, just because they fit. Again, they fit, they stay up. They work on my non-existent upper assets here, and I have no complaints about the actual clothes themselves. We all know, or those of you who've been here before, you know my closet is an expensive closet, right? The total value here is still over $20,000. I don't actually know where it started. Maybe I can find the short video of where I started at. It might have been closer to $30,000 at that point. I couldn't tell you right now. Back to the statistics though, my second favorite brand is the miscellaneous unknown category, and that is the thrifted clothing. And that's at 28. So not as many as 50, but the next category of stuff is thrifted, and that is actually how I acquired much more of my clothing, but much more of it has been decluttered. So the rotating cycle of resale and thrift, and for me, I think both of those are in this category, although I do think resale is less thrifting than going into a Goodwill and thrifting that way is. So my second category of popular brands in my closet is thrifting and or resale. The third category is Pollen, the purses, and I have not 17 purses, but 17 pieces of leather goods from this brand. And again, this might be horrifying to those of you who don't already know this about me, but I have 12 full-size handbags from this brand, and then 2 really small micro bags and 2 kind of wallets, or maybe 3. Does that make up the right number? Card holder wallets, which again is something I consider my one collection aside from things like the patches on my viola case, which is something I totally forgot about in my collections video. That's probably my actual collection that resembles healthy collecting or normal collecting, where I have a collection of patches on my viola case from locations that I've been. Anyway, we're getting on a tangent. Back to my brands here. I have Cezanne is the next one with 8 pieces, mostly sweaters. Abercrombie's the next one with that sweatshirt that I got during my no-buy year that I still enjoy. That's not a regret. And a couple of t-shirts and jean shorts, 1 pair of jean shorts. Adidas is my next favorite brand with 4 pieces. So again, we go down drastically. Jerf Avenue is the brand I have 50 pieces from. Thrifting is another 28 pieces. Pollen is the next one with the bags. And so I effectively only really have a wardrobe made of 1 brand is what this tells me. And I'm not really mad about it. I don't think I necessarily look like a poster for the brand because I don't tend to wear a complete outfit of this brand. The brands with 1 or 2 pieces get a lot of wear and get mixed and matched. And so I don't think I look like a walking ad campaign for this particular brand. I can go into favorite colors here as well, just for fun. Blue is the most popular color in my wardrobe with 51 pieces, and then white, black, gray, beige, and pink. Pink was maybe a surprise, but looking at the pieces in the pink category, I guess it's kind of, some of these have pink in them, some of them are accessories. So this is the breakdown of colors I have. And then there are things like cost per wear. And again, my data is pretty skewed because there are items that I got for free from my husband, and so those are $0 per wear. And then things that are thrifted obviously have a lower cost per wear than things that were bought. Although the lowest cost per wear item that I have here that was not thrifted is a hoodie, and then one of the tank tops from Jerf Avenue is at $2 a wear, which is pretty expensive for a tank top. But once again, I haven't put most of my outfits in here. And so from the small little chunk of wear data, again, at least 70 days, but not more than a couple of 100 days, just I haven't been tracking outfits regularly. I have gotten some of the wear down on the non-thrifted pieces. I think that purse that I had 70 wears is down to $5 a wear because it's a fairly expensive purse. It retailed at $390 at the time that I purchased it. Now, going back to the land of hypotheticals or the goals, my wardrobe goals, I was thinking about this because now that I haven't been consuming fashion and style content online, more of my own innate closet needs and desires have come to the forefront. And incidentally, I am going to be going back into the TikTok space of style, personal style, and summer trends and kind of examining that a little bit in the next video on this channel. So if you want to see that, you can come back. But now that I've had a break from that, I know what I value a lot more clearly. And if I were to design a hypothetical minimalist capsule, I would know that I would have a few key pieces. So again, I did a kind of prototype of this. Maybe I'll insert like a little screenshot of my Notion journal for this. But I know that I'm likely to gravitate towards comfortable clothing, something oversized. And I don't really care about what society thinks of outfit repeating. I probably wouldn't wear the same thing 2 days in a row, but in terms of wearing the same thing in a week, the same pairs of pants multiple times, especially with different tops, that to me is something to aspire to instead of something to try to avoid. And so honestly, my perfect outfit is probably sweatpants or those Tibby loose jeans, a tank or a tube top, and a blazer. And in warmer weather, perhaps substituting a button-down top or linen pants for the sweatpants. And again, if I were to make a capsule based on that information from clothes that are already in my wardrobe, it would include my 2 pairs of sweatpants, my 2 pairs of Tibby jeans, my 2 pairs of Old Navy linen pants, wide leg linen pants, my 2 pairs of cotton elastic waist shorts. And so again, this would cover the winter and the summer. And then everything else that I own would be a variety option. I do enjoy having skirts to wear for variety, but they are not what I choose first or what I typically feel cool in. I feel feminine, I feel romantic, I feel like it makes a nice change. It can kind of feminize a more masculine top. The shirt that I have that has cars on it, for example. Again, using stereotypes, just for lack of a better word, right? Feminine, masculine, maybe not exactly what I mean here. That's just what I'm gonna call it. So I could get by on just those 8 bottom options. And if I were to have an extreme minimal wardrobe, that's what I would do. Again, not including things like sleeping and working out or swimming. But again, I think that's fairly reasonable. For tops, I like to have overlayers. So 2 blazers, maybe 4 button downs just to have options and to have overlayers for wearing in summer over tank tops. Again, this is very hypothetical here still. Then everything else is a variety option. So like my silky shirt, this vest, etc. I like to have underlayers as well. So tube tops and tank tops, possibly 6 of each. But anyway, I would have undershirts enough to go without doing laundry for a week, possibly more because life is hectic sometimes. And then loose t-shirts. Again, I don't really have a number here, but I like to have loose options for when I don't want to wear an overlayer or when it's too hot. And I also have a few t-shirts from events, so like band shirts, etc. The penguin shirt I thrifted, that's one of my favorite shirts. And then everything else is a variety option. So the other fitted t-shirts, the other graphic t-shirts, other kind of tops that aren't a button down or I mean, I guess I have a couple of tank tops that are loose, so not undershirts. So those are all variety options that I could do without. And it's kind of fascinating to learn this about my own wardrobe, even though I'm the one who collected my own wardrobe, which is a little bit bizarre, right? Like I should know this. I should have known this before buying all the things, collecting all the things that I have. But, better late than never, and now I'm learning what I actually use and wear regularly as opposed to what is there for the sake of having options or when I want to wear something different. And so it's interesting, it is clear now in my mind how the outfits I put together, in my mind here, I'm probably not going to be organized enough to show you these outfits. We'll see. Maybe I'll feel like taking a cell phone clip or something. If I have, I'll insert them here. But let's just say I put together my ideal outfit here. One of my pairs of Tibby jeans, a undershirt, tank top, tube top, and either a blazer or button-down shirt. And that look, right? That's a very comfortable look for me. I guess if you had to give it a word, it would be kind of like Scandi style with a little bit of, a little bit of flair from the jeans. And then you contrast it with my variety looks, right? Like let's just say my white mini skirt and my hot pink loose tank top, so not an undershirt. And contrast how that looks, right? Like very different looks, still the same person, still items that I objectively like. And, there's maybe an in-between option where I still wear an undershirt and button down with the white mini skirt, right? So that's kind of the middle option here. That kind of illustrates the value of clothes to me. On one end of the spectrum is clothes that I wear and love every day, easy to reach for. In the middle is kind of the hybrid of my option pieces plus what I know and love. And then on the far end is basically an outfit entirely comprised of options that feels very different for me. But right now, at least, I'm not ready to let go of all these extra optional pieces because they serve a purpose of giving me the ability to dress like a completely different person on the days that I may still feel like doing that. And the day may come when I'm comfortable to let go of all that excess and just have kind of the options 1 and 2, very comfortable, and a little bit of the options that I have for variety, and kind of knock out some more of those only variety pieces that are less easy to pair with my regulars. Although again, I could make another in between with the hot pink tank top and my Tibby jeans, and that again brings it back to the middle category. So maybe I'm at a good point right now. Maybe I don't need to do anything with my wardrobe. And actually that's kind of how I'm going to go about it for the duration of certainly no by July. And we'll see how the months that follow go, rather than continuing to try to declutter and pare down the things that I already own. Maybe I can use the variety options as a kind of safeguard from wanting to buy any more things, wanting to give in to the pain of desire if I encounter things to desire, and to work myself up into that frenzy of wanting. Okay, with that, I will say goodbye for now. We covered a lot of ground in this one, and I will come back to you next time with some style and trend TikToks. Would love to hear about your wardrobes and how that journey is going for you in the comments below. And I will say bye for now. See you in the next one.